Hi, my name is Jacob. I am a Raiden network core developer. I've been working on Raiden for 2 years. The Raiden network is an off-chain payment channel network, and we aim to solve one of the huge issues of Ethereum, which is scalability. We focus on doing off-chain ERC20 token transfers, and that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years, and we believe that we are one of the leading companies in this whole scalability sector of Ethereum. Yeah, so my presentation was almost made by him already. Okay, it's a bad joke. If I'm speaking too fast, please raise your hand or something. I tend to speak a bit fast, so I'll try to speak slowly. Thank you for having me here. I'm so happy to be here in Tokyo and see so many of you showing up to hear a bit about what we're doing. My name is Jacob. I'm a Raiden core developer, and I've been working on Raiden for 2 years now. That's what there is to me. I also do a lot of presentations, and I have been talking to a lot of other conferences. Yeah, so it's not my first time on the stage, even though I might seem a bit nervous. Cool. So let's start. What is Raiden? Yeah, so Raiden is a payment channel network providing fast, cheap, scalable off-chain token transfers. So this is very, very high level. If we go a bit more in depth, it works by having payment channels. Payment channels is a way of having two off-chain nodes being able to do transfers between each other. Some other companies do something like this, but what really makes Raiden powerful is that we can do mediated transfers. This means that if I have a node and Anna has a node and Hansen has a node, even if I don't have a direct payment channel with Hansen, I can transfer to Hansen through Anna if I have a connection to Anna. So this means that in theory, if I am only connected to 6 other nodes and every other node in the network is the same, then I'm connected to everyone. So this is a nice and cheap way of doing ERC20 token transfers on the Ethereum network. So that is the deal with Raiden. What is Raiden not? So Raiden is not like silver bullet for scaling everything in Ethereum. As I said, Raiden only does ERC20 token transfers. It doesn't do like generalized state channels. That's a pretty difficult problem to solve. Research is being put into solving the generalized state channels issue, but as of now, right now, there is not a real solution to this. So what Raiden will solve is basically scaling ERC20 tokens as long as smart contracts are not directly dependent on the token transfers to take place. So for instance, if you had something like a decentralized exchange, Raiden would be very nice for that, but it wouldn't be nice if you had a smart contract that it triggers some other function or another smart contract upon receiving tokens, because you couldn't do that in Raiden. So what is MicroRaiden? MicroRaiden is another one of our projects. It's a very simplified version of the Raiden network. It's a many-to-one payment channel system. It doesn't do mediated transfers. So this means it would be nice for something like subscriptions. Let's say something like Spotify, for instance. You could use MicroRaiden to pay a very small fee every time you listen to one song, for instance. And a lot of people would be sending these kind of transactions to Spotify. Spotify would only receive, and they wouldn't mediate the transfer. So it's like many-to-one payment channels. It's working. It's deployed to the mainnet, MicroRaiden that is, and we have a nice API and a good documentation, so you can already use MicroRaiden today. I'm going to try to compare Raiden with a couple of other scaling solutions, so that we can see how Raiden fits within the scaling scene and what other projects are currently doing. So sharding has suboptimal latency, cost, and privacy properties compared to the Raiden network. What I mean by this is that sharding is somewhat solving another issue than Raiden. Sharding is more generalized, and you partitionate smart contracts and state over several chains. And it's very important to have sharding. It can solve a lot of problems, but we do definitely not see sharding as a direct competitor. It's more like complementary to each other, because if you wanted to do something like ERC20 token transfers between shards, it would be slower and more expensive than actually doing Raiden transfers. So they are complementary, definitely not competitors as we see it, at least. Plasma, a bit like sharding, will not be able to provide the latency and low fees that the Raiden network will. So yeah, Plasma is a proposed concept to scale transaction capacity using these, I think they call it hierarchical trees on side chains, and it's similar to sharding, and it will not be able to provide the latency and low fee properties by the Raiden network. And we also see Plasma as complementary to Raiden. Then we have the liquidity network. They are quite similar. They are quite similar to the Raiden network, but they use a centralized hub of always online. They need a centralized hub of always online nodes in order to function. And what this means is basically that if these centralized hubs are offline, they have a problem. So these centralized hubs needs to be always online, and this is not something that we in the Raiden network considers a value, but we do definitely see what Liquidity Network is doing as a very nice alternative to Raiden. We wouldn't call it direct competition, but they are pretty much building and solving the same problem as we are. If you would want to compare Raiden to the Lightning Network, you can say that Raiden is pretty much the same to Ethereum as Lightning Network is to Bitcoin, except Raiden does all kinds of ERC20 token transfers, whereas Lightning only does Bitcoin transfers. And then you might ask, does Raiden do Ether transfers? It does not, but it would be very easy to create a smart contract that would create an ERC20 Ether token that you could use for transacting, and then you would get your Ether back once you send the token back to a smart contract. And I think there's already something for this. I don't remember. I think it's called WETH. W-E-T-H. WETH. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, so if you use something like this, then you could easily use Raiden for Ether transactions as well. So the current status of the Raiden network, we released back in September, I believe, MVP, where we did on the testnet, where we did Raiden mediated transactions and regular transactions. Since then, we 1 month ago released our version 0.30, the Swimming Goat, which is our latest release. And right now we're working towards having recoverability in the Raiden client. That meaning that if Raiden for some reason unexpectedly quits, we can continue using Raiden in the same way or in the same state as it was before it shut down. And this is one of the things that we see as needed before we can have a stable release of Raiden. We've also recently done made considerable efforts into writing a formal specification. It's still work in progress, but you can already now check out our documentation and see the specification for the implementation as we see it right now. So yeah, if you're interested in how the Raiden network specification works, just go to our website and check it out. Good, here on the screen, some of the slide is gone, but it's all there. Okay, so we have these Raiden modules. We recently split up our main repository into 6 modules. We have the main Raiden repository where the entire Raiden client resides. Then we have the Raiden pathfinding service. The Raiden pathfinding service I'll talk about a bit more later. I think. Just give me a second. Yes, good. The same with the Raiden monitoring service. These two I'll talk about a bit later. Then we have the Raiden smart contracts. Yeah, that's just all the smart contracts that we use for Raiden. We have Raiden libs, which is a library where we have some of the common modules that we use for in Python for Raiden for the different modules. And we have a spec repo where you can find the specification of the Raiden technology. Yes, so we still have a couple of unsolved issues or issues that are needed in order for us to release something on the mainnet. One of the problems is like message transportation layer. There is no scalable low latency Whisper protocol. So the promise of Whisper, the Whisper protocol, is something we're really looking forward to, because this would help us do the to be a good transportation layer. Since it's not ready yet, we use this federated transport infrastructure from Matrix. Some of you might know Matrix. It's underlying protocol for Riot chat. Yeah, so we use that as an intermediary solution until something like a Whisper protocol is ready. Pathfinding service. So in order to find the efficient paths between Raiden nodes, we need to do some calculations. There's like two ways you can do this. Either every node needs to have the full picture of the entire network, which is expensive and computationally heavy, and would definitely not work for a light client. We then looked into solutions for this. We wanted to do a decentralized pathfinding algorithm. We put a lot of effort into researching this, and we've done quite good progress, but we are not in a stage where we feel like this would be viable yet. So in the meantime, we use a federation of pathfinding helpers. So that is, we want to pay third-party services, or users of the Raiden network can pay third-party services to provide paths for your transfers. So if you're a light client and you want to know what is the cheapest and best path to transferring to Anna, then you would ask this third-party service to provide you with a path, and this third-party service would of course always be online, because its way of making revenue is to provide these paths. Then we have what we call a monitoring service. It's the same problem. If a node goes offline, there is no one there to monitor its channels. So for instance, if someone closes your channel while you're offline, you would have no idea of knowing this, and when somebody closes your channel, you want to provide the last received proof from your counterparty that shows how much your counterparty owes you. So to solve this problem, we came up with this, we allow for delegate challenging of closed channels. So again, that would be a third party that would monitor if anything happens to your channel, and if somebody tries to close the channel while you're offline, this third party service would provide the proof for you. And of course, you would also pay for this service. So this is one of the ways we see how the incorporated how the Raiden token can be incorporated in actually using the protocol. Yes. So the Raiden roadmap, as we see it right now, that would be, we recently did some restructuring of our milestones, and right now we have two milestones. One called Red Eyes. One of the reasons we called it Red Eyes is because we have a lot of long nights and a lot of work to do before it's done, but we will get there. And the other one is called Ithaca, I think it's like the promised land in Homer's Odyssey or something, if I remember correctly. For Red Eyes, we aim to have recoverability. a refactor of our smart contracts, some changes to the core protocol, and we want to have the new transport layer incorporated. And the new transport layer is the matrix stuff I was talking about earlier. And for the Ithaka release, we want to have audited core protocol, audited smart contracts, and we want to have nice usability guides and nice documentation, along with the 2 third-party services, so the monitoring service and the pathfinding service. A bit about the team. As you can see, we have, I cannot read the names here. So we are really working hard towards getting Raiden ready, and we have a lot of nice people working on it and committing a lot of code. I don't know how interested you are, but since they are doing such a great job, I'll mention my colleagues. We have Augusto from Brazil, Konrad, Ulo, Paul, Joseph, Loredana, Georg, Andre, Yannick, Lefteris, and myself. We are the team as it is right now. Developers. So like any other serious project in the blockchain world, we are always looking for developers. We're always looking for people to try out our code, contribute to our open source repositories. All our code is open source, so if you're interested in the Raiden protocol, we would love to get some feedback, even if it's just you reading our specification. If you have questions or something is unclear in the specification, we really appreciate people looking at our code and providing whatever feedback they are capable of giving. And of course, if you're looking for a job and you know how to do development, we're also very interested in hearing from you, especially if you're living in Germany, which most of you probably aren't. Yeah, so please feel free to check out our open source repositories. We really appreciate all kinds of feedback that we can get.